There's this one sentence I keep on hearing, not from one woman, not from one kind of life, but from women whose life could not be more different. One had just become a mother. The other one finally got the business she's been working towards for many, many years. Another one just divorced. And maybe one that is actually very happy in her marriage, but still really feels lonely and doesn't understand why. Different ages, different countries, different stories. But somehow they all ended up saying the exact same thing. I do not feel like myself anymore. I've been thinking about that a lot. Because I honestly don't think that they've forgotten who they are, but I think they're trying to describe something that is just so much harder to explain. Somehow along the way, they just really stop recognizing the person that is living their own life. And I really do recognize that feeling. And it's not because my life looks like yours or my life looks like anyone else's, but I have been many times in my life in situations where I needed to adapt. When I moved to Holland when I was 2 as an immigrant, I needed to adapt. When I was 16, left my parents, I needed to adapt. When I traveled on my own through more than 40 countries, meeting thousands of people, every time I needed to adapt. And these are just a handful of examples, right? But I had to adjust many more times than I can possibly even think of. And every place asks something different from you, right? A different language, a different culture, a different version of you. And don't get me wrong, adaptation, I think, is a beautiful thing. It's probably one of the biggest reasons why we're still here on this planet as human beings. It helps us survive, it helps us belong, it helps us build relationship. But survival and aliveness is not the same thing. And so I started wondering if that's where this feeling begins. Not because we suddenly become someone fake. I don't believe that. Because I think most women become exactly what life wants them to become. They become the reliable one, the calm one, the one that is never difficult, the one that everyone can basically rely on. The woman who remembers everyone's birthday, while nobody remembers to ask her how she's really doing. And the interesting thing is this, right? This woman, these kind of women are deeply, deeply loved. People appreciate them, people rely on them, and sometimes people even admire them, which makes it incredibly confusing when one morning they wake up and they think, why do I not feel like me anymore? In fact, how do you actually feel lost in a life that you've created yourself? So I've been asking myself that specific question actually for a while now, because when I sit in front of women for the podcast, I nearly ever hear anyone say life changed from one day to the other. It was one moment. I do hear it sometimes, but it's really, really rare. Life normally never happens like that. I just think it's much more quiet. Someone becomes a mom, someone falls in love, loses a parent, gets a promotion, or looks after someone for 10 years. Nothing dramatic all of a sudden happens on a Tuesday afternoon, does it? Just life keeps asking you more and more, quietly, spontaneously, and one day you realize that a lot has changed. And because you're capable, because you're loving, because you're caring, you just keep on saying yes. And then one day you realize you become very, very good at taking care of your life. But you realize that you haven't checked in with yourself for a very long time. I sometimes wonder when it is that we exactly stop doing that. Because when we're children, we know exactly how we feel. We're hungry. We are upset. We love someone, we don't really like someone, and everything seems to be so immediate. And so somewhere along the way, we start learning something else. Then we start learning what is expected from us. Because maybe in your family, it was much easier if you didn't ask for too much. Maybe being funny made everybody relax in the house and the atmosphere was more calm. Maybe being successful made you finally feel seen. Maybe being independent made people worry about you less. Maybe you became the peacemaker, the achiever. Maybe you became the one who could always cope. And none of these things are necessarily bad. They are incredible traits to have. Children are just extraordinary at figuring out what keeps them connected. But the problem is this, right? We take those strategies into adulthood without asking ourselves if we actually still need them. Because what keeps an 8-year-old safe doesn't necessarily make a 40-year-old feel alive. One thing that I've learned from talking to so many different women is that our lives looks nothing like our inner world. So I sat with women, right, who the outside world would describe as inspiring, beautiful, confident, successful. But then they say something like, I don't really know what I want anymore. Or, I don't recognize myself anymore. And every time I hear this, I just ask myself, how many more women feel the exact same thing, but just never say it out loud? Because it's just such a difficult thing to admit, especially when your life looks good and your kids are healthy, your relationship is good, you have a lot of people that actually do really love you. And when you've actually built something you're proud of, you kind of feel guilty saying it, don't you? You feel like, what's wrong with me? Maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe you've just spent so long becoming everything for everybody else that you stopped becoming someone for yourself. And I actually don't think that it starts in adulthood. I think it starts much earlier than that. I've been wondering lately, actually, if children, the second they're born, they already know who they are. Think about it. A little girl doesn't just wake up and think, I need to be more quiet, more calm, more easy, more pretty, more successful. She doesn't wonder all day long if everybody really likes her. She kind of just is. She's angry when she's angry, she's excited when she's excited. She laughs so loud that people turn around. She cries outrageously in the supermarket without caring about what people think. She is completely herself. And then life begins. Not necessarily because anyone wants to hurt her, because most of the times the people around her love her very much. But children are just very observant. And they don't always only listen to the things we say. They watch and they notice. They notice when mom is a bit less stressed, when they are easy. They notice that dad lights up when they bring home good grades. They notice that there are way less arguments when they're not asking for too much. They notice that being funny changes the whole atmosphere, or being helpful makes everybody smile. And because belonging is one of the deepest human needs we have, they adapt. And this is not conscious, by the way. They're not trying to make a 5-year plan. Of course not. They're just trying to stay close to the people they love. And honestly, I think that's beautiful. I don't think we should look at that little girl and think, oh, she was wrong. I think she was very intelligent. She did exactly what she needed to do with the world she was living in. But the problem is, what protected that little girl at 8 might just not serve us anymore in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I've been thinking about this because it's something I see in many women I interview. Their lives look very different, but underneath it all, they've all become very good at carrying things. They carry businesses, they carry children. Sometimes they even carry other people's emotions, and they're amazing at it. Honestly, women are extraordinary. Sometimes I leave an interview and all I can think of is how on earth has she carried all of that? And yet, the stronger people look from the outside, the less likely people are to ask them if they're actually okay. Because strength has this bizarre downside. The more capable you are, the more people assume that you don't need anything. So eventually, you stop asking too. And it's not because your needs disappear. It's just because you're so used to putting yourself at the bottom of the list, it starts feeling normal. Until one day, someone asks you, what is it you actually want? And you catch yourself not having a clue. And not because you don't have an opinion, but because no one has actually asked you that question for a very long time. Maybe not even you. And I wonder if that's actually what people mean when they say, I've lost myself. Because I don't think you've lost yourself. Lost things disappear. Keys get lost, suitcases get lost. You don't get lost. I think you just stop listening. Or maybe life became so loud that you couldn't hear yourself anymore. And those are two very different things. One of the biggest misconceptions I think we have is that finding yourself is this huge event, right? Very dramatic. So you book your one-way ticket to Bali or any other exotic tropical island, you shave your head bald, quit your job, and all of a sudden while watching this spectacular sunset, you have this big revelation. But honestly, I don't think that's how it usually happens. For what I've seen is much more quietly. It's maybe saying no when you would normally say yes, or maybe not pretending that you're absolutely fine while you're really, really tired. It's noticing that one friendship always leaves you drained, or allowing yourself to disappoint someone without immediately wanting to fix it. And those may not sound like life-changing moments, but they really, really are. Because every time you tell yourself the truth, even if it's a tiny little truth, you are starting to rebuild that trust relationship with yourself. I remember traveling on my own in my early 20s, and people think it's like one long spiritual awakening, and sometimes it is. But there are also really moments that I sat in a bus station, exhausted, sick, and thinking, why on earth did I think that this was a good idea? But what it did give me was silence. Nobody was telling me who to be, nobody knew me, and nobody was expecting anything from me. I would wake up and ask myself, what do I feel like doing today? It's such a simple question, but amazing how rarely we ask ourselves that. And I think especially as women, because our days become full of what do they need at work? What do our children need? What do our parents need? What do everyone around us need? And those are beautiful questions. I'm such a huge believer of giving and living a life of service. But between all those questions, there also needs to be, what do I need? And I don't mean it in a selfish way. In fact, I think this is very much the opposite of that. Because when you end up being completely disconnected from yourself, you will have nothing left to give. Not real presence anyway, maybe performance, but there's a huge difference between the two. You can be physically present in every room while emotionally absent from your own life. And I think a lot of women know exactly how that feels like. You keep showing up, keep functioning, keep smiling, but inside, it almost feels like you're watching your own life from a distance. And that is exhausting. Not because your life is wrong, but because you have been carrying it without yourself alongside it.